This is Confidential Remarks. It's a series of short, direct observations about how the real estate industry actually works. Not how we market it, not how we explain it, but how it functions underneath the surface. These aren't opinions designed to persuade. They're structural observations meant to clarify. In this session, we're looking at expertise, how it's assumed, how it's rewarded, and why it's far harder to verify than most people realize. I'm Steve Colino, and this is the Mirage of Real Estate Expertise. We talk about expertise in real estate as if it's obvious, as if we can see it clearly, as if it's something we all agree on. But what if what we're calling expertise is mostly an illusion? Something that looks solid from a distance but dissolves the closer you get? That's what this is about. The entire system rests on a simple assumption that agents are paid for expertise and that expertise leads to better outcomes. We assume experience compounds. We assume better judgment gets rewarded. We assume knowledge transfers cleanly from one deal to the next. None of these ideas are crazy, but they all depend on one thing being true. Expertise only matters if it can be evaluated independently, and inside this industry, it can't. That single limitation quietly breaks everything that follows: how we assign value, how we build trust, and how we decide who's good. So instead of measuring expertise, we infer it. We infer it from time in the business, from transaction count, from brand logos, from proximity to deals that already closed. None of these tell us how good the decisions were. They just tell us who was around when something happened. Here's the deeper issue. Workflow hides causality. Agents give advice, but markets move on their own. Outcomes are binary: yes or no, closed or not. There's no signal that tells us whether the advice caused the outcome, helped a little, or didn't matter at all. So the system fills in the blanks. When a deal closes, expertise gets the credit. When it doesn't, the market takes the blame. This pattern protects the idea of expertise without ever forcing it to prove itself. There's no real feedback loop separating skill from circumstance. MLS data records events, not decisions. Brokerage reports track volume, not accuracy. Compliance checks process, not judgment. Without feedback, experience accumulates, but learning doesn't necessarily improve. As agents scale, precision fades. Speed replaces thought. Delegation replaces analysis. Templates replace nuance. Local knowledge gets flattened into standardized inputs. What looks like mastery is often just repetition at volume. Over time, expertise stops meaning better judgment. It becomes procedural consistency, the ability to run a familiar process efficiently, even when the situation calls for something different. At that point, experience turns into an unfalsifiable credential. New agents can't challenge it. Consumers can't test it. Other agents defer to it quietly, and the system keeps rewarding that deference. What we often call trust is really just a measurement gap. When there's no tool to evaluate performance, confidence fills the space. Certainty replaces evidence. So the system keeps rewarding the same things: visibility over calibration, confidence over verification, speed over correction. These traits feel like expertise, but they're not the same thing. Real expertise does exist, but the structure doesn't require it to stand out. Skill gets buried under noise, momentum, and volume. The system functions just fine without being able to tell the difference. When a system can't tell the difference between skill and circumstance, it doesn't correct itself. It adapts. Not by becoming more accurate, but by becoming less dependent on knowing. Expertise doesn't disappear. It just becomes optional. And once a system no longer needs to recognize it, it stops trying to. I'm Steve Colino. These have been Confidential Remarks.